all of our residents know a couple of things. First, that electricity is just too damn high in this state. And it's a necessity. It's not an option for anybody, especially on the hottest days and the coldest days of the year. Second, we know that state policies, state leadership bears some responsibility for Connecticut's electricity costs being the second or the third highest in the entire country. And third, leaders in this state must act to reverse those policies and make Connecticut's electricity rates more affordable for the short, medium, and long term. We can do that. We're not here simply to cast blame. We're here to offer solutions as House and Senate Republican caucuses. And that's why over the past 2 years, we have consistently put forward long-term energy proposals that we think will reduce costs. In fact, we know will reduce costs for the long term, while also shoring up reliability of the electricity grid and ensuring that we protect our environmental considerations as well. We have updated, but we mostly are reiterating those proposals from the last 2 years. First, we need an all-of-the-above clean energy strategy in this state. We should not have the state constantly picking winners and losers among sources of clean energy. That means all forms of nuclear, all forms of hydro, and other more reliable and affordable forms of clean energy should be on equal footing in the state's renewable portfolio standard with wind and solar and other sources of energy. We need to cap the rate that the state forces procurements for energy in our state. The state forces us to buy certain types of energy at a fixed long-term rate. Maybe they need to do that, but it shouldn't be at the cost 2, 3, or 4 times higher than the competitive market for electricity. We need to cap those government-directed purchases of electricity. We need to shore up our natural gas supply, especially for winter, especially when we see demand rising for electricity in the long run. It is not acceptable to have elderly or sickly people in the future have to worry about whether they're going to be able to heat their homes on 0-degree days. But we all know that that is the direction New England and Connecticut are heading in 10 or 20 years' time. So we need to study actionable ways for the state to shore up a more affordable natural gas supply, especially for the winter, that could help reduce costs for our electric grid, make it actionable both from the west and from the east. We need to look at moving all those public policy charges out of your electric bill and into the normal appropriations and budgetary process, whereby it competes with all other important sources of government spending and government programming, but is evaluated every 2 years for its costs and benefits on the merits. I think that's only fair. Some of these programs should continue to exist, but they should be reevaluated and tweaked through the normal budgetary process. You should not be forced to pay a hidden tax in your electricity bill every month as a matter of course. That is contributing to Connecticut having the highest electricity rates in the country. We should look at restructuring our energy regulatory bodies, yes, so there is more certainty, so there is more independence, and so that customers can have more certainty about the regulatory structure in Connecticut, that they will not be subject to, shall we say, malfeasance by any of the utilities as well. There is so much we can do in this state to make Connecticut more affordable for everyone, to grow our economy, to ensure that seniors on a fixed income or lower income families do not have to choose between their rent, their medication, their electricity bill, or anything else from month to month. We need to create jobs. We need to make our economy grow. We need to make Connecticut better than ever before. We can do that by going into special session and reforming our energy policy in this state to make it more affordable for the short, medium, and long term. All of us are confident that we can do that. All of us believe in governing, in leading, not just casting stones. That's what this announcement is about. I want to turn it back over to Representative Cantor to expand on the nuclear point. First, it's a fixed price contract. So how we're crediting and debiting from period to period does change and could cause, and that's with, the recovery of the credit was kind of delayed. And so you saw maybe more of a charge this period than previous period, but it is a fixed price contract. So it's supposed to be a hedge. So it should actually reduce the volatility in energy rates. Whether we should have done it or not, it's an open question. It was It was 7 years ago. Almost nobody really who's serious about energy thinks we shouldn't have, especially when you saw 5 nuclear plants in the Northeast close in the past 10 or 12 years, and it's zero carbon, and it's reliable, and it's the cheapest form of zero carbon. I wonder how many people who are complaining in the majority party who have been complaining the past week about the 5 cent per kilowatt hour fixed price contract for Millstone will be as critical about the 15-cent fixed price offshore wind contract that will probably be announced in the next week. If it's more than a couple cents in either direction of that, I'll be shocked. And so what's also finally clear is if the majority had accepted our proposal to use ARPA funding at the beginning of the year to pay off the arrearages, your electricity rates in this period would have gone down, not up. So those are the 3 points I think are crucial to make.
And that involves a PPA agreement, Ryan. You want to go into?
Sure. Are you referring to the cap on the procured prices?
Yeah.
We're saying that the government should not direct purchases of energy if they're more than 2 or 3 times higher than the competitive rate of electricity. That is part of why your public benefits charges are so high. There's about 15 different programs buried in the public benefits charge. I mean, that's why it's like a government budget in and of itself. That's why I think hidden tax is oftentimes correct verbiage to describe it. Listen, we're going to need to expand our energy power generation in the decades to come. Everyone says demand's going up, whether it's from data centers or EVs or heat pumps. We're going to need to find expanded generation, and that's going to be a kind of all of the above sort of solution. But how we go about it's a different question. Should we pick individual winners and losers, or should we have more competition among different sources of energy so that they can at least drive down costs for it, so that we can do this more electrified economy in a more affordable and more reliable fashion?
Right, because we are pushing.
One of the greatest sins in energy policy over the last 15 years is allowing 5 different Northeast nuclear plants to close, zero carbon, reliable electricity, cheaper than the new stuff that we're procuring to put online, the 15-cent offshore wind. That's 3 times the cost. We're about to probably ink an offshore wind contract that is 3 times the cost of the nuclear contract. So, you think your public benefits charges are high now, just wait a few years.
And I think that's the reason why.
It would be, I would say it would be prospective. There's certainly several renewable energy projects in the last 10 years that would fit. There's a lot of the grid scale solar I think would fit in many cases. I think you look at Park City Wind before it was canceled because we didn't write the contract intelligently, because we gave a low option price to the developer. That was below what most caps would be written at. Millstone is zero carbon, is below what probably the cap would be written at. But more importantly, I think there's if you force industries to compete on price, you're going to get better outcomes from them. You're going to get more sustainable outcomes. It was written, and I always think about this in our previous press conference, we want these industries to succeed. But you can't make an industry succeed if you give it so many special benefits and don't make it play by competitive rules like everyone else is forced to in our economy. So we want all of these to succeed. But we're going to have to set rules and make them competitive in order to do so, and that will accrue to the benefit of our environment, of our ratepayers, of our grid as a whole.